If you're watching this video right now, you've probably tried a bunch of fad diets like carnivore, low carb, keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, anything. There's a bunch of different fad diets out there, and they're all supposedly here to help you lose weight. But what tends to happen to a lot of people is that they will see initial results, but gain all the weight back. And this is due to one key component, and I'll get to that in a second. But on today's video, I want to show you exactly why you should not be doing any of these fad diets and what you should be doing instead so that you can get results and keep them long term. So first off, what all these diets have in common is that they are restricting you from eating something specific. So in carnivore, you're only eating, pretty much you're just eating meats, right? Keto, you're eating a very low amount of carbs or only some specific amount of carbs. Low carb, obviously, is very low carbohydrates. Vegan, nothing from animals. So all these diets are pretty much restricting you from eating specific things. And what a lot of people will do is that they will pick a specific diet of something that, for example, a low carb diet. They're doing that because they are eating too many carbs, or they think they're eating too many carbs, and that's why they go on this diet, because they think this is going to be the magic thing to help them lose weight. Now, what usually tends to happen when people get on these diets is that they will start cutting their carbs out of their diet, or cutting whatever thing they're cutting out specifically. They cut that specific thing out, they lose some initial weight, they lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. They start to think they're actually seeing some progress, but what tends to happen as they start to lose weight is you start to have cravings. You start to have cravings for those things that you're specifically cutting out. It becomes very unsustainable, and what people end up doing is they end up giving up on the diet, they binge eat, they gain all the weight back in half the time. So maybe it took you, 2 months to lose that 20 pounds, you gain it back in a month. And this happens to so many people. And the biggest reason why is because it's unsustainable. All of these diets, to most people, are unsustainable. If you're someone who can actually stick to the carnivore diet or the keto diet and you actually genuinely enjoy it, by all means, stick to it. If it works for you, it works. But for most people, restricting this kind of stuff doesn't work. So you need to have a different approach. Now, the other thing that all of these diets have in common and why people are able to lose weight doing these diets is because you're in a calorie deficit. It's not about restricting specific foods like carbohydrates or the types of food you're eating. It comes down to calories in versus calories out. If you are losing weight doing any type of diet, it is because you're in a calorie deficit. It's not because of the foods you're eating. It's not because of no carbs. It's because you're eating less food than you're burning on a daily basis. Now, that is the number one reason why people lose weight. Now, if you really think about it, okay, if it just comes down to calories in versus calories out, can I just eat whatever I want as long as I'm eating less than I'm burning? Will I lose weight? The answer is yes, of course. Now, obviously, there is a specific way that you need to be doing this. You don't want to be eating shitty food 24/7 and, just less quantities of it, and you'll be able to lose weight. That's still unsustainable too, and it's not very healthy for you. You need to be doing it in a specific way. So the number one thing that you need to focus on is eating more whole food. Something that I'm eating right now is just chicken and some green beans. Obviously, I could be having some carbs in here as well, but this is just an example meal, for example, right? Whole foods. So when it comes to whole foods, you should be prioritizing these in every single meal, every single day throughout the week. I would say 80% of the foods that you should be eating should be whole foods. So you got your protein sources. You want to find lean protein sources, such as chicken breast, ground beef, ground turkey, steak, eggs, non-fat Greek yogurt, things like that. Those are very, very good sources of protein. Fish is another example. It's a very good source of protein. You got your carbohydrates. You want to get some whole grains in there. You got your white rice, your brown rice, your potatoes, sweet potatoes, fruits and veggies, and then some whole grains like whole wheat bread, sourdough bread, things like that. Oatmeal as well. Additionally, then you got your fat. So you're going to get your healthy fats from some of those protein sources like the turkey, like the steak, like the ground beef, and then the eggs, of course. And then you can get it from other things like nuts, nut butters, avocado, olive oil, things like that. So if the majority of your diet is centered around those things, where you're eating 80 to 90% of the foods you're eating are coming from whole foods, that's the first key. The other key is the other 10 to 20% of the foods you're eating can come from whatever else you want. And why this works so well is because you're not going to have any of the cravings when you start to lose weight, because you're still able to eat your favorite foods. Instead of restricting yourself from eating carbohydrates or eating specific foods, you're just eating in a calorie deficit, but you're still able to eat your favorite foods. And the thing with whole foods as well, not only are they going to make you healthier, they're going to make you feel better, you're going to see better progress, but they also, a lot of the times, keep you a lot more full. So you can eat a big amount of this. Like this meal right here is probably 400 calories, and it's going to keep me full for hours. And I genuinely like the taste of it. Now, obviously, it comes down, you got to find things that you specifically like. Don't eat, something that I'm eating or someone else is eating if you actually genuinely don't like the taste of it. Find stuff that you like. Find whole foods, different recipes, low calorie sauces, different spices that you genuinely like, because then you'll be able to stick to it. That's the whole key. A lot of those fad diets, you can't stick to it because you don't like what you're eating. And you're craving these different things that you can't have anymore. Don't restrict yourself. Eat stuff that you genuinely enjoy. Eat in a calorie deficit and you will lose weight. And the thing with that is it's going to be sustainable because you're still able to eat your favorite foods and you're not restricting yourself from anything. Now, like I said before, if you're someone who genuinely likes the carnivore diet or the keto diet, or if you're a vegetarian and you actually like to eat that way, by all means you can do it. And people can see results, and the people who see results from those diets and keep them long term are people that actually genuinely like those types of diets. The majority of people, if you're watching this still, you probably don't like those diets and you've probably tried those diets a lot of times and you can't seem to keep the results. But the way to actually see the results, keep the results long term, it all comes down to sustainability. And the best way to do that is eating more whole foods. 80 to 90% of the time you're eating whole foods, finding different recipes that you genuinely enjoy so that you can actually stick to it. And then the other 10 to 20%, you can eat whatever you want as long as you are eating in a calorie deficit. Count your calories, figure out how many calories you specifically need. I've made other videos in the past, go check them out, about how you can figure out how many calories you specifically need. But figure out how many calories you need, eat less than that so that you can lose weight on a consistent basis. And then that way you can lose the weight in a sustainable way. You're not hating your diet, you love the food that you're eating, and you're losing weight long term. And then eventually after 3 months, 4 months of you doing this diet, you get down to your goal weight. You're able to do it in a sustainable way. You're not having all these cravings. You're not going to eat a bunch of food after you get off this diet. You're just going to be in the best shape of your life and be able to eat the exact same way once you get off this. And there's no way you're going to gain the weight back because you're not taking anything out of your diet. Now, hopefully all that made sense. And if you do have some additional questions, leave them down in the comments, or you can follow me on Instagram at Corey.Hilliard. I answer all of my DMs on there. So if you have any questions about nutrition, the types of food you should be eating, how many calories you should be eating, specific macronutrients, anything like that, hit me up on there. I answer all of my DMs and I'll be glad to help you out. But other than that, guys, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I post 2 videos every single week. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.